Hello, my name is Chris Yang. This is Winning Mealtime, the never-ending battle to get your kids to just eat something. And if it's healthy, wholesome, all the better. Today we're gonna make stuffed cabbage. Now, I get it. It's not something that you immediately jumps to mind to serve your kids because cabbage is anathema, and why would we try? But really, this dish is a celebration of the meatball. Because what is stuffed cabbage? It is a meatball hidden inside of a cabbage leaf. Cabbage generally is, to me, a gateway vegetable. It is in the brassicas family. That also includes, I believe, broccoli, which, if you're a parent, I'm not gonna say you know for sure, but like, broccoli weirdly is like an acceptable vegetable to children, I feel like. I don't know what it is, but kids who don't eat vegetables, they will for some reason eat broccoli, and I think it is just that kind of nutty, cabbagey taste that works. So maybe they won't, if they don't eat the cabbage, they just patently are like, I won't eat the cabbage. The nice thing about this is you as an adult can enjoy the stuffed cabbage. You can also just unwrap the meatball from the cabbage, eat the cabbage separately, and they'll still eat a meatball. So again, the meatball is God's gift to parents. It's something that kids generally will get into and eat. And what I'm doing here, I'm just gonna start prepping this cabbage. You want these big cabbage leaves, and obviously I can't just wrap anything in this as this is right now. I need to soften this up a little bit. And you can do this a couple of different ways. You can boil some water and then blanch these cabbage leaves one at a time, or use the microwave, which I'm gonna try to do right now. And I just wanna soften this cabbage leaf up enough that I can wrap meat in it. Speaking of meat, here's our filling. You can do this with ground pork, ground beef, maybe ground turkey, ground chicken, although I've never done it. But I just really like meatballs. I'm always kind of concerned with my kids getting enough protein. My son has a harder time with just meat in its natural form, meaning a chicken leg, a piece of steak. He likes ribs, but the meatball is this kind of, what's the horrible analogy here? It's like the masks they wear in Eyes Wide Shut.
Mm-hmm. Exactly what I thought about with the kids' cooking show was Eyes Wide Shut.
Listen, you can be squeamish about it, but like, that's where the kid came from. All right, I'm gonna make the farce to go inside of this. Now, this is a 1 pound brick of 80/20 ground beef. This is an egg that I was storing in this salt container. 80/20 is maybe like a little less lean than a lot of people like to buy, but all that fat is flavor. It's also going to come out of the beef. The whole point with a meatball is I like it to be like 70-30 meat to some kind of starch. And again, this is why I like meatballs is it is a whole little ball of nutrition for your kid, my kid, in one. So oftentimes I will sneak chopped spinach, chopped vegetables, whatever I can hide in the meatball, I will hide. But I just like it because it's a complete meal and it's something that they're okay with. So to that, I'm going to add an onion, half an onion, salt. By the way, I never talked about this. So I don't know why I microwaved one of these right off the bat. That's really stupid of me, but see how it's now much more pliable? Now I can use it to wrap without cracking. Like I do, it's not, is this like to the point of the paper, like, is this an impenetrable wetsuit for the meatball that's not gonna let any water in? No, but I don't want just gaping holes in the thing that's gonna spill the meat out and everything. So, all right, salt, onion, a little garlic, do some other stuff. The question that I'm running through in my mind right now, and you can do this either way, is breadcrumbs or rice. And because I just found this container of leftover rice, I don't want to waste it, I think we're going to use rice. So You can use whatever. You can use breadcrumbs. The point is you just want something starchy. It's going to make more tender balls, and it's going to, like I said, it's going to suck up all the juices. And it's also just going to make the meal more complete for the kid, you know. It's rice and meat and vegetables all in one little tender package. God damn it. This video is not for kids, Ira.
It's for parents, I understand.
A little garlic. Like I said, you can add anything else to this. You could do cilantro stems. Really, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't, no one's gonna be, one thing I am gonna do, I'm gonna try to get some of the water out of this spinach first. It really doesn't matter. We can add like you don't want to add something. The line you're towing is, can they detect the vegetables? Let me get the peeler. Doesn't that microwave jingle kind of sound like it's waiting for a response from you? It's like it does. It's like do 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 do, and you're supposed to be like ba da boop boop boop.
Got to resolve the melody.
That's what it is, Ira. Resolve the melody. Yeah, okay, that kind of worked. I did that because I want to get some of this water out. Is this going to mean my kid gets into the gifted and talented program, or is this going to mean my kid gets picked in the first round of the NHL draft? No, but I had it in there. Why not add it, right? All right, so I threw some vegetables in because I was starting to feel like my kids didn't have enough. I seasoned it with a little salt. We're gonna check the seasoning before we stuff these. This is a little, you can omit this. Listen, I understand that some people aren't as comfortable or enlightened, but MSG. And then a little sugar. And a little British MSG, aka Worcestershire sauce. Just for fun. You could use fish sauce, you could use soy sauce. I think about this as a formula. I think about like, how do you make kids eat things, and like what are the patterns that emerge for me as I watch my kids eat or not eat things. And generally speaking, it's things that are super umami, a little sweet, have a simple form. So I'm always trying to figure out ways to inject more umami into things. Ooh, umami. As I mix this, I'm feeling more and more like rice was a mistake. And it isn't, it'll work out fine. But this is old rice and it's pretty dry. And once it's in the hot tub of the braise, it'll soak everything up, it'll do its job. It'll be great for the meatballs, for the stuffed cabbage, but right now mixing it feels like I'm just mixing sand into my meatballs right now. So we're gonna braise these. These are dashi packs. Dashi is the backbone broth of Japanese cooking. Smoky, super savory. You recognize it from miso soup. It is made by steeping kombu in not boiling water, but hot water, and then you add katsuobushi, the dried fermented smoked bonito flakes. That's this, but in tea bag form. I'm gonna start with these as my braising liquid. So these will just get braised in tomato and dashi, this is another one. This is another recipe similar to our curry recipe that comes basically straight out of my friend Ivan Orkin's playbook. I've written a couple books with him. He's a dear friend of mine, owns Ivan Ramen in New York. It's 90% right. Definitely needs pepper. Damn it. If it had been 90% and it didn't need pepper, this is white pepper, this was within reach, my mental calculus would have been, don't bother getting your hands dirty again, it's fine. Don't get your hands dirty again. Why would you bother? Knowing where it is, I'm also definitely not going to test it again. I'm just gonna have faith at this point. Dashi and tomato. That's something, you know, stuffed cabbage is obviously not something I grew up with, but I love the dashi part. I love that extra little smoky umami hit, but that's another thing that Ivan taught me. Because like I said, this is not a flavor that comes naturally to me. While that comes up, because I'm gonna adjust that. That's not right now, but I'm gonna start rolling some of these guys out. Big old clump of meat, not so big that it's gonna become unmanageable, but you know, I want a real portion of this. And this takes a little figuring out every time I do it. Doesn't have to be super tight or anything. But you want to try to get one toothpick or skewer in through to keep it all together. That's what you're looking for. Nice little package of cabbage and meat. We're gonna get this to a place where we're happy. It's acidic, smoky. I'm gonna give it some sugar, and it needs some salt today in the form of soy sauce. I'm gonna throw some sesame oil in there just because it's here. You don't have to do this, but I'm gonna add a little mirin to this. Just because I had it. Mirin is a sweet cooking wine, used a lot in both Korean and Japanese cooking. What does this want? I think it wants more dashi. You can also use hondashi, which is like the powdered dashi. It's frankly what I probably would have done at home. Doesn't taste quite as good, but it works. So I'm gonna let this keep simmering for a minute just to infuse a little bit more of that dashi flavor. I'm gonna roll a few more of these guys, and when we're back, we'll get it all together. All right, so I've made a little progress. This is what I've got right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know, it's like Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Sister Bear, Brother Bear. They're getting smaller and smaller. Here's the thing. I ran out of cabbage. I mean, this is what's left. They're gonna get too small to mess with. They just be too hard. And then I remembered that we have this gigantic head of Napa cabbage in the fridge from the other day. And frankly, I've never done this with Napa cabbage. I'm sure many people have. I generally go for the standard white cabbage, or I like Savoy cabbage a lot for stuffed cabbage. But these leaves, I'm predicting, will be infinitely easier to wrap meatballs in. I'm gonna shed this guy. I just feel like these are gonna be way easier to stuff, and so let's screw around with this a little bit, huh? And maybe people at home have been screaming at the television this whole time, use Napa cabbage! Okay, fine. This tastes good now, by the way. A little more sugar, a little more dashi, a little more simmer time. I've put us in a really nice place. I'm probably gonna retrieve these dashi bags before we start simmering. I'm gonna start putting these in here, actually. Plopping our little friends right in there. You can do this on the stovetop. You could do this in the oven. Oh my God. Let's just erase the whole first half of this video and pretend I used Napa cabbage from the start.
It looks like it's a more successful result.
My God, that was so much easier. I feel like these other ones are gonna fall apart in here too. All right. gonna bring this to a simmer. I'm gonna finish putting these in there. We're gonna cover this. We're gonna simmer it. We come back. Hopefully they'll be done. You're gonna fast forward. They're gonna cook in here for 40 minutes until the cabbage is fully cooked through. It's all tender. The meat is cooked through. And then we're gonna have a cabbage party. This has been braising for an hour, I'm gonna say. 45 minutes, an hour. I know it's labor intensive to do all the wrapping in cabbage leaves and everything, but I love this dish. It's one of the things that I'm willing to put that effort in. I just think it's whether or not your kids eat the cabbage, I like this thing because it's a cute little package. It's a cute little thing for them to get into to see. And we ran a little empirical test here, as you remember. We did some in the green cabbage, the regular Western style green cabbage, and we did some in the Napa. We'll do a little side-by-side taste test here to see what we like better. Because the Napa was certainly way easier to work with. But what you're looking for here, like I said, is just for the cabbage to be super tender, for everything to be cooked through inside. We can pull these out. All that liquid is delicious too. Once you're done with the cabbage, all of that can become, like I would hold on to that liquid and that can become the base for a soup, pasta dish, infinite uses for, like you can braise more stuff in that same liquid. In Chinese cooking, there's this idea of master stocks, which is, you know, every time I braise this meat or whatever in this stock, it just gets more delicious. And so I just keep on, you know, I add some water to it and it gets more powerful, more delicious, more delicious. Not like, I'm not saying you have to do that with this, but I'm saying don't. Also, you can just drink it. I love this stuff just the way it is, obviously. So I want to eat the whole thing, but if your kids don't want to eat the cabbage, it's easy enough to just peel this like a tamale. Oh yeah. You know what? I'm gonna tell you right now, I would go with Napa cabbage because of the benefits of rolling the Napa cabbage are so. Use Napa cabbage, guys. My God. What a delight. So this would be Ruby's plate, my daughter, who is down to clown with vegetables. And this would be Keith's plate, who is far more skeptical. But as you recall, this meatball has spinach in it. It has rice in it. It has onion in it. It's got meat in it. It's got egg in it. This is part of this complete breakfast, all in this meatball. So I don't feel like, even if he doesn't eat the cabbage, I don't feel like I'm ripping him off nutritionally. That would be Keith's plate. And I would eat this part. I think this is like the real reward, honestly. I like the cabbage a lot. I love this tomato dashi broth. And I'm like perfectly happy to eat this part. But like I said, I think it's a fun package for them to see. You can serve it both ways. Super delicious. A little bit of a pain, but we all discovered today, you and me, made the discovery that I should have just done this with Napa cabbage, and it's probably 60% easier to roll them up in Napa cabbage than it is to do it in like the really thick, dense green cabbage leaves. So there you have it. Braised, stuffed cabbage, a whole meal and a meatball. But we do this pretty regularly at my house. Hopefully this becomes part of your repertoire. I think the meatballs by themselves are as close to a surefire winner with kids as you're gonna get. It's a meatball with tomato sauce at the end of the day, just presented in different form. So try this one out. If it doesn't work for you, send a letter directly to Ira with your complaints. Make sure it's very personal and cynical and negative and aggressive. But if it does work, you can thank me. Keep watching and we'll keep cooking.